you kind of went through and dug up some information and tried to get some new details out of that. And I guess you could say that was a bit successful because we've had some revival in the case from the OPP following your podcast. I know they probably won't admit to the fact that it was because of the podcast, but it kind of seems suggestive that that is the case. We did have that police media broadcast a couple of weeks ago. Tell me just your perspective on that, and how does that kind of relate to your podcast?
The press conference was a result of an interview that I was trying to have with the lead investigator of the case. His name is Detective Inspector Rob Matthews. He had initially agreed to sit down with me, and as I discussed in the podcast, he walked that back and then eventually said that he would hold a press conference instead. So what you saw a few weeks ago was the result of that, and it was the first time that the OPP has commented on the case in years, and the first time that Detective Inspector Rob Matthews has ever commented on this case, the case that he has carriage of and that he was originally assigned to in the 1990s. There were some new pieces of information in the press conference. There were photographs that the OPP released that I found interesting. They showed the shed that Joan Lawrence was living in, and then a 1972 Volkswagen van that she had been moved into prior to her disappearance. Those photographs show really, deplorable conditions, and I think the OPP was hoping that they would incite a response in someone who maybe hadn't come forward before and share information with them. So, the press conference was as much about the OPP appealing for information from the public as it was about them sharing information.
Do you think that there's still more information that they're holding back at this point?
I mean, I think there's a lot of information that they haven't shared. I have a glimpse of that in my research. I've got hundreds of pages of police search warrants that I've successfully petitioned the Ontario court system to unseal and unredact. So I have a sense of what they have, and there's a lot more.
Do you think that we might soon see more of this information get released over time as this investigation unfolds again?
I think that the OPP is holding back a lot of information, they say, because they don't want to interfere with a court proceeding if there is one. I think there were probably more pieces that they could have shared that they chose not to. So it's somewhat subject to debate. I think we'll really only see the full extent of their investigation if there is a successful court proceeding.